Hello everyone, Dan14 Prime here. I want to do a share out today with you guys with the Hot Toys Avengers Infinity War Iron Spider. Very aesthetically beautiful figure here. Main complaint on the guy, as you may have heard by now, is just not easy to pose. Pretty difficult with the suit. Very sensitive with the suit in terms of wrinkles and things like this. So not recommended to be holding him in dynamic poses for extended periods of time. Which just continues to be a shame for our Spider-Man figures because this is how we'd like to have the guy on the shelf. But we can't do that without the risk of damaging the figure. Now I will say, as beautiful as this suit is, again, it's this pleathery, leather, rubber type material. It's supposed to kind of mimic that nanotech, very slick Iron Spider look. Because they're using soft goods, you do get some imperfections. When you put them in poses like this, you get like the wrinkles and things like this, which really can get a bit nasty, particularly through like the torso and up on some of the arms. And I'll go in a bit closer to check that out, but it gets a beautiful shine to it. He's got the LED head on right now. The arms look fantastic as well. So he has his moments of really being a fantastic and beautiful figure, but you don't always get to capture that on the shelf on display like you'd like to. Let's jump in closer and check this figure out. All right, let's just hold him in this pose and check out a few things on the suit which are not perfect, particularly when you get him in these dynamic poses. I think the first thing is just some of the seams, right? Again, they're using soft goods. You've got to stitch him up somewhere. Big seam here. We'll see some seams on the legs as well. They kind of ruin that nanotech smooth look. It probably would have been very cool to see this guy done in die-cast if possible, because a lot of that wrinkling effect would have gone away. Of course, who's to say the die-cast wouldn't have maybe some imperfections as well? We'll never know. But here's probably the worst of it. When you really see, when you bend this suit up, I mean, just big creases, big folds, and like this rubbery type material. In terms of the material, it's not as bad as sort of our Batman Arkham Knight, which is a harder type of plastic. It's also not as forgiving as maybe what we've seen with Captain America concept version, for example. It's something in between, but look at these up on the shoulders. Get these big wrinkle ups when you raise the arm. Give the arm a little twist, kind of wrinkles around the elbow. Again, arm up, big wrinkle, just poofy kind of material there. So ruins the slick look of the figure, considering it's supposed to be this all-tight nanotech suit. Is probably the number one complaint in terms of the aesthetics of the figure. And then, of course, we all know the complaint has been these things, it's going to create some wrinkles. You cannot leave it in these types of poses. And even if you're in and out of this pose, it still leaves some kind of residual wrinkling effect to this suit. So unfortunately, there's just no way to keep this guy perfect unless you're just going to museum pose him straight out of the box, which is super boring, particularly for a Spider-Man figure. Let me give you a quick wide angle spin of the figure here. You can just kind of take him in overall. Again, I think a great job with the suit. I think they're definitely nailing the overall look of this MCU spider suit. You can see he's got a nice slender build. You know, more or less kind of like tech suit, you know, Tom Holland Spidey we saw from Homecoming type figure in body and build. The arms there, removable plug in the back. We'll check that out. Just giving you a bit of wide angle spin around really quick. I think a nice build to the figure. Fantastic job with the suit. Dive in a bit closer here. He's got the LED head on right now. I've got the lights off. I think it works. Sometimes I look at the head versus the suit and I think, well, is it exactly match? But I think if you just step back at least a foot or so, it's fine. Up close, maybe you could point out some nuanced color difference, but pretty good job overall. I can see the fantastic webbing all patterned in through the chest. And then you just have the spider, blue and gold. You know, little white accent paints there for the lights. Just at least trying to do something there for us to give us that look there at the waist as well. And then when we jump down, again, it's a lot blue, but you can see it's like blue on blue patterned in there. It really kind of breaks it up. Some nice lining. And you can see, you know, you might see through the crotch some of those wrinkles, right? They don't perfectly go away. Again, you can probably look up there at kind of the shoulder, armpit area as well. It's pretty slight and subtle, so it doesn't bother me, but definitely something will remain after you even so much as move this guy a bit. The suit rebounds from its poses a little bit, but it never gets back fully to perfection. The web shooters, we'll get a side view of those, but very nicely done. The gold web shooters, got the trigger there in the palm. And then down into the boots, again, nice web pattern across those, nice and glossy gold trim, looking pretty sharp. It's weird, even in his like normal leg pose, it seems like I get a bit of wrinkling there around the ankle. And don't let me forget to call out here in terms of some of those imperfections of the suit that I mentioned with the seams, which ruins the aesthetic a bit. You do get a seam on the inner thigh here, and for me, on mine, it kind of comes a bit towards the front more than I would have liked. I would have wished they would have seamed that a bit more on kind of the back half of the thigh in here, and it would have hit a bit better. But maybe that's just sort of placement of mine. I've tried to fold it back a bit, but then it kind of wrinkles the suit. So I think it's where it's supposed to be. Seam placement could have probably been a little more towards the back. Do a little profile here. Again, nice thin Spider-Man. Figure's about spot on 12 inches tall. See the shoulders. He's got like a flap on top of his suit there. I think that maybe helps some of the, not helps, but hurts with some of that extra wrinkling we saw on the shoulders. Again, seam comes kind of down the side of the neck and around the back of the shoulder. Some nice webbing through the arm. And then here we get these really, really sharp looking web shooters down into the hands, and many hands, which we'll take a look at. A bit more there with the web blaster. Again, nice overall forearm look with that. And the side of the legs, you can probably see even a bit better. Some of this just blue, but then darker blue lining texture through the suit. I think that looks really nice. Of course, we're seeing quite a bit here with the arms as well. I just pulled out of the way so you get a better view of the side. Back of the figure here, you get the iron arms in there, the iron spider arms. We'll take a closer look, but they just plug into the back and they rotate like that, and there's articulation. So we'll take a closer look at each of these, or one of them, so you can see all the detail. But they push in, and fortunately they don't push in so deep that you have to worry about rubbing on the suit. They kind of have a stop, giving you some clearance there of an eighth of an inch or so. So that's a good kind of safety precaution. They do go in a certain way. It says like DL, down left, down right, up right. You'll see that on there. Let you know where to put them. And then same thing, you have these covers, and they say the same thing, down left, down right, etc. They plug in there. Like they angle a bit to help just make the line up right here. So something like that. They could probably tweak those and make them a bit more perfect. But you can see how it kind of fills in the overall spider look for the back. I will say it looks better on camera than it does in person, I think. See those rise off the back there? Doesn't really look good on the back of the figure with those plugs. So, I don't know. Maybe a different way that could have been done. Make the whole back sort of magnetic or something and just swap out a larger piece. I'm not sure, but don't really love the look of those plugs. Then here the bottom half of the back. Again, just consistent with all of the lower body with what we've seen. You see how all that kind of ties in on the back of the leg. There's quite a bit of detail. They've got like 5 of those striping things going across the back of the knee. You got the boot there, so nice accent on the heel of the boot as well. And then they don't just stop there, but the bottom of the boot, you get some nice Spidey pattern there. And the foot there, kind of overall well detailed. So yeah, I think overall it definitely delivered what we were excited for in terms of the aesthetic of the look. I think the figure, it's a great MCU interpretation here of Iron Spider. I thought they did a great job in the MCU. So I was definitely excited to get this guy. I thought he looked fantastic. And I think on the whole, they deliver that, save for just some of the drawbacks of using soft goods to try to mimic this nanotech armor. Let's check out the head sculpts. Again, this is the LED head. There's a magnet arrangement, which it's kind of slick at times, but limiting at others. I will say it hasn't been too uncommon to have this magnet in here, the glue have come undone out of the box. My head was floating around out of the box. Not a big deal. A little bit of super glue. Less is more with super glue, so don't spew it everywhere. Glue the magnet down. glue the plastic black cover on top. You can fix it up, no problem. Your batteries, which come with the figure, go way down in there, which is hard to see, as is the switch, which is almost impossible to get with your finger, but they give you a little paddle. So here you can see with the lights off, and there with the lights on, and even under some pretty bright light here, it's a pretty good glow. And again, magnet, right? Pop right there. LED head, I like it. It's sort of been the default head I've been using. And again, with the whole magnet thing, it just sort of sits on there. Again, has definitely some imperfections at certain angles. And there's not a lot of overall neck articulation, which I'll show you a bit later. But on the whole, I think the whole magnetic premise for the head, it works. I'd probably still prefer, neck joints and ball joints to get more articulation. We then also get this head on the right, which is, kind of the same, only not LED. So it has the swap out eyes, but otherwise it's kind of, the plastic material painted the same and all of that. Interesting, they can't really get these incorporated together and just have different filters on his eyes to give the overall look and actually have different versions of light up eyes. That would be cool, but apparently they're not there yet. So this head is basically fixed. This one has the swap out eyes, and I'll just kind of run them down for you, but basically, there we go. It seems like if I push in the corner of his eye, it pops out the inside, and these are all magnetized. So let me show you the eyes. Okay, so this is the first set, which was on the head out of the box, the whitest eyes. This is his next level of squint. I think these are all pretty consistent, probably with what we got with Tech Suit. This is his next level of squint to the eyes. And then here we have his deepest squint to the eyes. Again, it looks all familiar to Tech Suit. I haven't cross-checked it all. But of course, with Tech Suit, we got like the red kill eyes as well. We don't get those with this figure. And then finally here on the head sculpts, we get the Tom Holland. It's basically the same as what we got with the Homecoming Tech Suit Spidey, except the eyes are painted forward-facing is the main difference. I think there's some slight cover variation. You can see the biggest thing here. Don't think it works as well. It's magnetized as well. So they're trying to repurpose this head. They've magnetized it. And I think the neck's too long. It looks a bit funny with the neck there. You really got to get... That's just the profile. I think, you can kind of manage it from the front with angles and stuff like that. But definitely doesn't work perfect all the way around. If I just bring Tech Suit Spidey in here, again, you can see, I think overall, in terms of proportion and body and stuff, pretty consistently done between the two figures, as it should be. So nice job, Hot Toys. And in terms of the head sculpt here, again, forward-facing eyes, eyes looking off a bit to his left. Skin tone, I'd say, pretty dang well consistent. Hair on the Iron Spider is a tad bit darker. But both good head sculpts. A shame we can't use this one on Tech Suit. I kind of never loved the fact that his eyes looked off to the side. But the whole magnet contraption is going to prevent us from swapping that over. Let's definitely take a closer look at the Iron Spider arms. He's just really fantastically detailed. Really happy with these. Like the blue gunmetal kind of trim there. Gold overall. Definitely a blue hue in that sort of grayish type color. So these things just look amazing. And they've got articulation. Again, it would spin in there, which we saw. And there's more or less articulation where they say go ahead and, take these things 90 degrees if you like. I'm still breaking that in. So you can definitely get quite a bit from these things as well. You saw the stand at the opening of the video. Kind of like Thor, dynamic stand, light pull to get him up, can bend that around, but still just have like the smaller base. Iron Spider there, but again, as I've said, you don't get the big platform for massive, crazy dynamic, but these things are pretty stable overall. Only backwards really is their greatest weakness. So I think they work pretty well and offer a much more efficient footprint, which I like. Probably the goofiest accessory here, and not necessary, is the mask, which is obviously a Tech Suit carryover, but they've done it in this material. It really looks weird like that because the eyes just bug out off the top of it. They really lift. So yeah, just not necessary. It wasn't from the movie. It's nanotech, so it would just sort of fade into the armor. So not really movie accurate. Didn't need this. Not a big deal either way. Other stuff that I won't belabor here, but webbing. Again, pretty much what we've seen from Tech Suit. Kind of hard to show up on camera anyway without the foam to provide some contrast. But just these clear white, web attachments. Again, when it's hard to do a dynamic pose, you'd probably only be using them if you could do some photography or if you just don't care and you're going to pose the figure however you want and not care about damage. Then you get this, which can go on the end of some of the longer ones, give you that web spray effect. So they're cool and glad to get them. Again, just not something I've found myself using a lot of. And lots of hands, which I think all look really good as well. Match the suit really well, painted well, webbing effect done well. Get the web slinger trigger in there on the palm. You get a pair of these. You get a pair of just closed fists here. You get a pair of kind of like web crawling hands where the fingers have just that little bit of pressure bend in them. Looks really cool. Love those hands. Pair of these. The right one was on the figure, kind of just like wide open palm. Pair of these as well, which would be like classic web shooter hand. Got to have that for Spidey. Again, the other one was on the figure. And then he gets a pair of these softer gripping hands. See the opening in there. And these are for holding the webbing accessories, which I just showed you. Home stretch here. If I hadn't showed you kind of full body, just comparison to Tech Suit, there you have it. Again, I think I mentioned pretty nice job of just maintaining overall height, stature, build of Tom Holland from release to release. Now let's jump through articulation pretty quickly here. I went through a bit when I was just had him on pose in the beginning of the video. But again, magnet, right? So look down, not very good. Looks up, much better. Again, you can cock his head and basically do anything. It just rolls around on there. You don't really get anything else from a neck joint. It's there, but you're not going to get it to move or really stay anywhere. So that's been muted for some reason. The shoulders, they come up. It's pretty nice, right? And you hear this light ratchet in there because the suit would want to pull it back, so that helps hold the pose. But ugly wrinklage like that doesn't help. Generally, the directions say you can kind of do everything you'd want to do. It just warns of the suit. So again, you can get the arm all the way up. You can do 90 degrees in the elbow. So all of that is per the directions and does indeed work. You just see all the wrinkling that happens. And then you got to kind of get it back in place. Even on these arms, there's a rotation up there. It really wrinkles the suit kind of ugly because it gets a twist in there. But you can do that as well. Pretty standard at the hand with the wrist peg and all of that stuff. Nothing special there. You get some in the torso. Again, you can kind of, I had him crunched a bit. A little bit of crunch. You can see how that suit all wrinkles up. So it's definitely happening. Probably would be nice to get a bit more. And again, he'll kind of do a little bit of rock as well and a little bit of back as well and even a bit of swivel. Again, the suit just does not like it, even aesthetically. I mean, definitely doesn't like it from a wrinkle point of view, but even aesthetically, it starts to just create folds in the rubberized type suit. And then downstairs here, again, I think, maybe you'd like that to be a bit more for Spider-Man, but it's not terrible. Get the light ratchet as well. Again, you can get that up 90 degrees or pretty dang knocking on the door of 90 degrees. You can get that 90 degrees or probably more if you wanted to. So it's pretty good. It's just that we can't keep it like that. Even the foot here, you can point that down pretty well. Point that up pretty well, and even the toe as well. It's got some movement to it. Some swivel in there as well, which, like the upper arm, doesn't look too good when you use it, but it's available. So, the articulation is okay overall. The suit doesn't let you do as maybe extreme as you'd like for Spider-Man, but all the basics and even a bit more is there. And even for myself, I don't mind like the finer wrinkles that would occur. If I could keep it dynamic. The problem is you pose it and you'll get those wrinkles and then it says, we'll put it back. I want to have my Spider-Man on display dynamically in my DTOF. And unfortunately with both Tech Suit and Iron Spider here, we can't do that without seriously damaging, the aesthetics and the suit of the figure. So there you have it, guys. Avengers Infinity War Iron Spider. Beautiful figure, as I had hoped. Unfortunately disappointed yet again with the articulation, or say the display ability of the articulation on this Spider-Man. So that definitely puts a little bit of a ding into my level of satisfaction because he's going to be looking pretty boring on the shelf. But a nice pack out with the 3 heads, you know, the accessories with all the hands, the Iron Spider arms are all so well done. There's so much that's really, really good about this figure. I'm glad to have it. I just wish Hot Toys would really get us all the way there and not leave us wanting more with these Spider-Man figures, and also this overall trend that they're doing of really compromising articulation and posability fairly significantly for the benefit of aesthetics. You know, they're expensive enough collectibles. We should be able to have both aesthetics and posability. So thanks for checking out the video, guys. If you're interested in picking up Iron Spider here or any Hot Toys figures, please check the link in the description below. Any shopping you do through those links supports the channel at no cost to you and is very much appreciated. All right, guys, thanks for checking in. See you next time.